of the great heroes in Greek mythology was Perseus, who had to get past the hideous Medusa with her hair full of snakes if he were ever to see his home again. The problem was that Medusa was so evil and so ugly that anyone who looked at her was instantly turned into stone. Perseus was scared. No one had ever got past her. So he carefully turned his back on her, lest he accidentally look at her and be turned to stone. And then held up his shield and caught her reflection in the shield. And then took his mighty sword and with one strong blow lopped off her head. She'd do no more looking at anybody. Dropped that ugly head in his knapsack and went home. Even if you're a mythological hero, looking and seeing can be dangerous. And yet, we all want to see, or so we say. The blind man in the gospel we just heard was insistent on it. Master, I want to see. Well, that was an act of bravery, whether he knew it or not, because he didn't know what he might see around him or inside his own soul, because Jesus can give us sight in both of those places. He didn't know what he'd see, but he took the risk. Not knowing where it might take him. Now, most of us are in the habit of saying that we can see and deal with anything that comes along. And the fact is that we actually see very little. Now, we know when we rob a bank or commit a hit and run or punch somebody's lights out. We know. But there are vast areas of our lives, the big patterns that are almost invisible to us. They've been with us so long that we don't notice how ugly some of them are. Our very own real Medusas right there, their snake hair, right there at the core of our lives. Think of just a few of the hurtful patterns, big patterns that you've seen. They're always accompanied by some form or other of very convenient self-absolution. Think of the cruel father who thinks he's just being firm, or the permanent victim, never happy inside, always blaming, always somebody else's fault, but pasting on a sweet smile. The miser who says, I'm just being very careful. So much damage, serious damage, done to oneself and to others, with nary a backward glance from the blind perpetrators. We could all tell stories about our families and friends and the ugly and dumb life patterns that they never see, but we can. But they could tell equally sad and stupid stories about us. She's totally blind. Lord, he just doesn't see. And you know what? Both sides would be right. Why are we so blind? Jesus say the truth can set you free? Well, he did. But we also know that seeing the truth can hurt. It can make demands on us that feel perhaps almost worse than dying. I have to tell my wife or the boss or the bishop. I have to make some changes that I can't even contemplate yet. Where's the scotch? Seeing the truth and embracing the truth can set us free. But where do we find the courage to do that, to embrace it? Jesus told us where. When he responded to that blind man, he looked at him and he said, "Your faith has saved you and set you free." The blind man knew in his heart that Jesus loved him beyond all telling. He knew it in his soul. And that knowing gave the blind man the courage and the freedom to see everything, whatever the cost. And so it can be for us. If we learn to trust the depths and the absoluteness of the Lord's love for us, we can face the hardest of truths and follow wherever they lead with a courage and a wisdom that will be a surprise even to the people who know and love us best. So take some serious time out for yourself to search for the big patterns in your life, both the sad and the glad ones. We've all got some of both. Turn to your family, your trusted friends. Don't be afraid to see what they've known about you for years. Keep in mind, though, they still love you anyway. And remember, courage is not about feeling brave or feeling strong. No. Courage is about feeling and knowing your weakness, and yet following the truth wherever it leads you anyway, in spite of that feeling of fragility. That's real courage. And it's a possibility for every one of us. So take the Lord's hand, take it really tight, and then open your eyes. See whatever's there. And in here too. You and I have important work to do. But we won't be working alone. Thanks be to God.